Hello everybody and welcome to another review. Today we are continuing the hype for Red's new album by talking about their second release, Innocence and Instinct. So Innocence and Instinct, like I said, is Red's second album. It was released in 2009 and it was my favorite Red album for quite a long time, up until Beauty and Rage came out, and even then it's still kind of my favorite, but I'm not really sure. It's really between those two, so that kind of spoils this review. Like usual, I'm going to go over stuff I enjoy about this album, stuff that I don't really like, and then favorite songs and all of that sort of thing. So we'll start with stuff I enjoyed. As usual, the sound overall of this album is very good. Most of the songs on here are very good songs. There's a couple of them that I don't like as much, which I'll get into later. But for the most part, the album is solid from beginning to end. Everything sounds good and is enjoyable to listen to. And then also, as usual, the work on the instruments and the vocals is also good, which you can always expect from Red. It's just really well done. I especially like the sound, actually, of the guitars on this album, which I'm not sure what it is, but they just have this really cool sound to them that they haven't actually been able to capture on any of their albums since then, including like even the songs that they released for their new album. It doesn't really have that same sound, and I really wish that they were able to get a sound similar to that on some of their other albums, but I guess that just makes this one more unique. I just really like the sound of the guitars. I'm not really sure exactly how to describe what it is, but it just feels like the sound is more unique and different from their other albums. Another thing that I think is very good about this album is that it has some of Red's best ballads on it, I think. Pretty much almost all of them on this album are really good, like Start Again, Take It All Away, and Never Be the Same. And I don't know if you would consider Mystery of You a ballad, probably not. If you do, then that's also very good. Another good thing about this album is the lyrics and the feeling and the theme of the album, I guess, which is, I would say, next to a Beauty and Rage, or maybe even ahead of it, I don't know. They're pretty close. This is probably the darkest Red album, lyrically and thematically. It deals with a lot of more dark sort of stuff, I guess, and that's definitely reflected in the lyrics for songs like Confession, Death of Me, and Shadows. Another thing I like about this album is the bonus tracks on the deluxe edition, which all of the bonus tracks are very good, being Overtake You, Forever, and Nothing and Everything. And I know that apparently Forever was on some of the regular edition versions of the album. For some reason, on some CDs, it replaced Out From Under, which I don't really understand. I guess it counts as a bonus track because it's the bonus track on the deluxe version. But all three of those are really great, and I really like them all. And especially Nothing and Everything, because that's a very unique song for both this album and for the band, because it's like a piano and vocals kind of song, which is the only one on this album, and Red only has like one of those per album, and sometimes not even that. Like, for example, Release the Panic, unless you count As You Go, which is also a deluxe track, it doesn't have any piano and vocals ballads on it. So they are a rarity when it comes to Red, and they usually, or not really usually, they're always done very well. Another good thing about this album, or not really a good thing, but it's just something that I think is kind of cool, is on the song Shadows, which was co-written by Ben of Breaking Benjamin, the singer, and it definitely has that sort of Breaking Benjamin sort of influence. It still sounds like a Red song, but it does feel sort of similar a little bit. I mean, Red is very Breaking Benjamin-like, I guess. They're a bit different, but they still have that similar sound. Shadows, even more so, has a little bit more of a Breaking Benjamin sound, which is not bad at all. It's one of my favorites from this album, actually. But yeah, I just think that's kind of cool. I like how they collaborate with other bands and musicians from other bands. Like on their new album, they're doing a couple songs with Dustin from Starset, for example. So yeah, it's just kind of a cool thing that I thought was pretty interesting. So I guess overall, that's sort of good things I like about this album. And so now we move on to the negative, which there's really only one negative thing that I have about this album, and that's the song Ordinary World. Now, from what I understand from their Wikipedia page, which might be incorrect, but apparently this was supposed to be like a live-only song, but the record label or something wanted it to be on the album, so they put it on the album, and it's not a bad song. It's actually, as far as covers go, one of the better ones that I've heard, but it is probably the weakest song on the album. And I think part of that might be because it's a cover. I just think that Red does its best when it's doing its own stuff and not covers of other songs. I'm not saying they couldn't do a good cover, because I'm sure that they probably could, but this one it's not really anything that special. It's still decent, and I probably wouldn't skip it if I was listening to the whole album beginning to end, but it's just not as good as the rest. That's pretty much everything. That's really the only negative thing I have about this album. So, would I recommend it? Of course I would. It's a fantastic album. It is at least Red's second best album. Like I said, Of Beauty and Rage is very close, and I would probably say I prefer it over this, but it's just by this much. It is incredibly close. I would probably say that they're about equal, but just for the sake of having to choose one over the other, I would say this is their second best. But yeah, it's just fantastic from beginning to end. I really, really like it, and it's got a lot of good stuff on it. Pretty much every song is enjoyable and all of that. Even Ordinary World, which, like I said, is the weakest, is still pretty... It's not terrible to listen to. It's still enjoyable. My 3 favorite songs from this album, if I had to choose 3, is pretty difficult. In order from my favorite to my third favorite, I guess, they would probably be Mystery of You, Forever, and then, I don't know, there's a lot of them. I think I'm gonna say Out From Under. But Death of Me and Confession and Shadows are pretty much tied for third as well. So I'm gonna say Out From Under just because I really like it, but it's a very difficult decision. So overall, that pretty much wraps everything up. So let me know in the comments what you think of this album. Do you think it's their second best as well, or do you think it is their best or even their worst? What are your favorite songs from it, and all of that sort of thing. If you have any more albums that you'd like me to review that are not Red albums, because I'm going to be reviewing all the rest of them leading up to the release of their new album, Gone, leave those in the comments as well, and I will consider reviewing them at some point in the future after Gone comes out. And yeah, that's pretty much wraps up this review, so I guess I'll see you guys next time.